Oh, it is fight night in Vegas, taking a look at the numbers attached to the names, and stars are always out when Israel Adesanya takes to the octagon. Izzy once again putting his middleweight belt on the line in the main event versus an aging but dangerous Cannonier. In the co-main, Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway will make dance partners for the third time in as many years. Holloway attempting to take back the strap Volk pried from him back in 2019. And good times, well, they're always to be had when the Sugar Show is in town. The always colorful Sugar Sean O'Malley making his largest jump in competition when he meets with Pedro Munoz. All right, let's put it on tape with two of the most informed minds in all of fight sports. Co-hosts of the award-winning Morning Kombat podcast, Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell. Still standing after a week-long stretch in Vegas, which was 2-to-1 value on Monday. Cash him if you got him. Fellas, let's hand out some real winners here. The numbers attached to our main event have ballooned since the open. Izzy, now a minus 550 favorite with Cannonier offering 4-to-1 odds. Luke, take us through this one. Is there a scenario where you see the underdog worth a look on that number?
Yes, I do. Whether it's a good bet is a somewhat of a different question, but if you're asking in a more, perhaps a different way, is there a rational, real, even plausible path to victory for Cannonier? Yes, there certainly is. Now, it's going to require him, I think BC might agree with this, to have a performance of his lifetime to get it, but this is the best Cannonier has ever been. He is finally in the right weight class. He is on an incredible win streak, so to speak, to get to this opportunity here. He is devastating puncher in this weight class. He is physical in this weight class. He has beaten all different kinds of guys, grapplers, strikers, grinders, you name it. But he's going to have to really make Adesanya rethink what he's doing. He's going to have to find a way to pressure the champion. So I think if he can find a way to get his boxing involved, that to me is really the key. Perhaps mixing in some takedowns as well, or at least get the wrestling threat established. Yes, he can win. He's a huge puncher. He knows what he's doing, but he's got to really level up this night.
Yeah, I don't just think he's somewhat of a live dog. I think he's a very live dog. Look, skill for skill, no one compares to Israel Adesanya. He might be the greatest striker, pound for pound, UFC has ever seen, based on what he's accomplished, which is going for his 5th title defense. But Cannonier is not only battle-tested, 5-1 in this division since making the move down. The only loss he fought through hell and high water to nearly stop former champion Robert Whittaker late. It's not just his boxing ability, which is underrated. It's his determination. He fought through a broken orbital bone, a broken arm against Whittaker, and still had big success late. Yes, does he have a puncher's chance? Of course. But I think that puncher's chance gets closer because Adesanya may have to stop Cannonier before Cannonier does the same. He doesn't have the same reach difference in terms of disadvantage that other Adesanya opponents has had. And look out for the left hook to potentially be a big part of his offense. That's how Jan Blachowicz and Kevin Gastelum, the only people we've seen really have any kind of success against Adesanya striking, have found it with that. Cannonier's going to have to punch with Adesanya, which is not an easy thing to do. But he's in this fight. Make no mistake about it.
All right, so I hear Brian Campbell leaning a little bit harder to the underdog there with that value at better than 4-to-1 now. Not to diminish the main event in any way, but this co-main, guys, has my full attention. BC, you guys did an outstanding job of outlining the history, the legacy at hand between Volkanovski and Holloway. But when rubber meets road, fist meets face, who's got the edge tonight, BC?
You know, I still have to give the edge both on paper and in terms of the prediction to the current champion, Alexander Volkanovski. And make no mistake, this is a historic trilogy. You're looking at two of the greatest featherweight fighters in the history of the sport, but two future Hall of Famers. And for Holloway, who's just 30, he's still maybe halfway through his career. But we've seen 10 rounds between these two. They've been incredibly close. The key for Holloway is this. If you're going to try to play chess against the chess master for 5 more rounds tonight, you may end up having the same results. Max Holloway's predicted all week, we're not going to need 5 rounds. We're only going to need to have 3. And if you see these highlights from the rematch, Holloway did make exceptional adjustments to come out more offensive, drop Volkanovski twice in the early going. But nobody adjusts like the champion. And until I see Max Holloway consistently either back Volkanovski up or put him in vulnerable situations, it's hard to imagine somebody who's unbeaten in the octagon and can do it all like Alexander the Great, falling, even if he's facing, for the 3rd time, one of the greatest fighters of our era.
There's no doubt about it. I interviewed Volkanovski a few months ago in New York City And I asked him what the key to his offense was, because if you watch him, the average fan who's maybe never trained or just doesn't really know striking, they may not really know what they're looking at, which is not an insult, because this guy is camouflaging it. Other fighters don't even know what they're looking at. But what he's doing is he is trying to, what he calls, scramble their brains. What he wants them to do is make them think X is coming and then bring Y. And when they think Y is coming, then bring Z. And he's got all of these different patterns and all this different footwork and stance switches and angle changes, because they don't know what's coming. They can't get a read, so they're confused at all times. And if you're confused, you don't know where to be, and of course that's when you get hit. That's when you get taken down. That's when bad things happen. This guy has been scrambling the brains of not the average person on the street. He scrambled the brains of Max Holloway the first fight and had to overcome the initial great moments that Max had to do it in the latter half. But I have to tell you, as much respect as I have for Volkanovski, and he is a sublime talent, let there be no mistake about it, Max Holloway and his team are criminally underrated. They are some of the smartest tacticians and strategists in the game. And yes, maybe he couldn't get it the first time. He got a little bit close to the second. I wonder if third time's going to be the charm. I think Max has a real shot to get that title back tonight.
I mean, we'll see if he can crack that code finally at plus 160 at latest check. One fight prior, guys, could be a title shot up for grabs. The winner of Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira, likely to cut a promo calling for the next crack at the middleweight belt. Vegas expecting a close one here by the numbers. Luke, what are your expectations?
Just exactly. Vegas is right. This one's a really hard one to read because Sean Strickland doesn't have a lot of things Pereira does. Pereira has the kickboxing pedigree. You should see him in person. This guy is enormous for this weight class. So he is a combative athlete, highly decorated in the striking department. You can see here from the highlights, explosive, beyond explosive, great tactician. But in the rest of the game, he's pretty underdeveloped. I'd even say green. Sean Strickland doesn't have that striking prowess. He doesn't have that hulking frame. And I should note, he had a really tough weight cut. He made it, but it drained him. However, Sean Strickland hasn't lost in 4 years. He is actually undefeated since moving from welterweight to middleweight. He can slow the fight down when he needs to. He's got a great jab. He's got a great leg kick. He's got some of the best takedown defense in the game. Honestly, this one is going to be kind of a coin flip. You can see the massive disparity in experience. I think if Sean Strickland wasn't too badly damaged by the weight cut, he could make this one a little bit boring, but he might get that W.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to rise to the occasion here and leave no doubt that they should be next for Adesanya. I like Strickland's chances better because I think he has more ways to win the fight. What Luke said can't be denied at how green Pereira is up to this level, even though such a decorated two-division champion in Glory Kickboxing, trains with former light heavyweight champion Glover Teixeira. Strickland, though, has all the things necessary to neutralize that. He can't be afraid to fight boring if it's necessary. I just need to find out in this fight. Is Sean Strickland crazy? Or is he crazy like a fox? Because he's talked a lot of game this week. He's tried to become a star, but he's going to have to fight safe tonight because you don't mess around with somebody with the power in both hands that Alex Pereira brings. If Strickland can swim without getting wet, he's advancing to the title round.
Yeah, if it is Pereira, it could be a reconvening with Izzy for a strap. Those two in the past met in their kickboxing careers with the advantage going to Pereira, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Another one across here, former welterweight champ Robbie Lawler, coming off that win in what was kind of a stinker, both sides against Nick Diaz, just a weird fight. Lawler hasn't won back-to-back fights since 2016 and loser in 4 of his last 5. At 40 years of age, guys, BC, is this roll credits if Lawler does end up on the wrong one of this one tonight?
You know, win or lose, Robbie Lawler's a winner. The fans love him. You should have heard the pop he got during the press conference this week. And we're talking about stars like Holloway, OMalley there. Lawler is who he is. He's a great old-time warrior, former champion who's still got some left in the tank. You can believe knowing Barboza's history as a fun, all-action brawler. He dresses in overalls and a mohawk. I mean, this guy, you know, he shows up to brawl. This one should be all action. I like the younger Barboza, though. I think Robbie Lawler is a little bit too long in the tooth. He's going to give a great effort. But you talk about the UFC matchmakers giving something on the menu for everyone. You want blood and guts, kicks and punches? Tune in. You're going to like this one tonight.
I mean, understand something. Robbie Lawler started fighting not long after I graduated college. Look at me. Look how gray and old I am, and he's still out there fighting. I mean, he's an Iron Man. And the truth of it is, this fight is actually really competitive. The odds kind of speak to that. What you have to remember is Robbie's highest high is much higher than Barboza's highest high will ever be. I don't think that's unfair. Barberena wasn't even sure after his last fight the UFC was going to re-sign him. Here he is, and he's in a big fight, and he earned it. Please don't misunderstand me, but Robbie was a champion. Robbie has been around since the Miletich era of fighting. This is a different guy, but he is, to your point, much older now, and he's taken, let's be honest about it too, a lot of abuse against Rory McDonald, against Carlos Condit, and many others. This one's a bit of a coin flip. You can make a case for Barberena making it ugly, being a little bit fresher, a little bit fewer miles, and that might get it. But again, Lawler, who's like the better striker on paper? Robbie Lawler's the better striker on paper, and still at this age, the heavier-handed guy. What do you like more? Maybe Barberena, given those considerations.
Age notwithstanding, nobody wears the salt and pepper better. Let me just get that out in front of us here right now. Leading off the main card, guys, bit of an appointment television moment here for fight fans. Sugar Sean O'Malley adding another chapter, a heavy favorite over Pedro Munoz. O'Malley already John with Petr Yan about his next fight. Luke, O'Malley talks it better than just about anyone. Does the output match the mouth tonight?
I think Sugar Sean O'Malley has a lot to prove, even though he's already proven quite a bit. There are questions about his durability, and they come from a couple of different fights, but most notably the Chito Vera fight. Now here's the thing. Chito Vera isn't just good, he is that. He's also insanely durable and a punishing striker himself, and maybe, just maybe, things just went wrong for Sean O'Malley that night. What gives you a little bit of pause is, I'm not saying Pedro Munoz and Chito Vera are identical, they have different frames, different skill sets, but in that sense of A, Munoz being durable, and B, also being just a punishing striker himself, they do share that. The thing about Sean O'Malley is what a gifted technician, absolutely floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee. He is what I would very much put at the vanguard. You look at the young strikers, so to speak, in the UFC, like an Adrian Yanez, but also Sugar Sean O'Malley. These guys who are changing the game, and they're doing all kinds of stuff with in and out movement. They're big on boxing, they're big on kickboxing in ways that previous generations of strikers weren't. He's at the front of that class, so I absolutely believe he will get the win tonight. I don't know if he gets the stoppage, BC, but we have to say this is a huge test in either direction.
Well, if O'Malley does get the stoppage, you're going to find out this evening whether he's ready to cut the line, enter into that title picture, because I think his star is so high at this point. He gets a win against a guy like Munoz. He's going to be fighting those big names, the champions and the former champions. Those are the only type of guys Pedro Munoz fights, by the way. He may have lost 4 or 5 coming in, but he only lost to ex-champions. So here's the deal. If O'Malley is everything he says he is, his look and his attention say he is, he's going to win this fight, and guys like Petr Yan better watch out. He's coming on at 135.
BC, Luke, we appreciate you guys taking us behind the curtain once again here at UFC 276. Enjoy all the action, and we'll talk once it's all said and done. And don't forget, there's only one place to be for all your fight needs. That's with the premier pod in all of fight sports, the Morning Combat with Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell, coming at you each and every day. The Kings of Swing, bringing you all the latest wherever they're throwing punches. Download, subscribe, and enjoy the Morning Combat.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.